Recording. Okay, we are live, so now I'm gonna.
Hi, everyone.
No, it's not playing yet. Hi, we're live. We're just making sure we're all set. Video's not doing anything.
Awesome. Well, okay, so
Okay, there we go.
basically,
Okay, pause.
so we're live and we're here to discuss for our monthly wrap up. Angela asked me to just kind of head up this one just for the beginning part and talk about the book that we read in what month was it, Angela?
May.
May. We're so behind. And so we read The Sacred Scarred by Joanna Alonzo. She's actually a part of our Goodreads group, and so she wrote this beautiful book, and it's a modern day Christian retelling of The Beauty and the Beast, and it's kind of cool that we read it in the time where The Beauty and the Beast movie actually came out. It was pretty cool that it was coinciding with that, and to have a Christian perspective, a modern day kind of retelling. It was really interesting. I cannot wait to hear what your thoughts are, Angela, about it. We've got a couple main characters. We've got Brandon, who is the Beast, and Callista, who's
Callista.
Callista?
Yeah, it took me a while to get that one.
Yeah, me too. Who is the main character, and we have a couple side characters that are huge, that play huge roles in this book. And I can't wait to hear what everybody else's thoughts are on this as well. We already got some comments and on the live chat, so that's cool, which Angela had so kindly showed me how to see them.
You know how to see the chat now, guys. I promised you we'd get that down, and we worked it out. So now Melanie can chat with you guys in the chat.
Yay!
Technology.
So that's it for the intro of this book. I guess, Angela, if you want to start with the what you thought of it and everything, or do you want me?
Well, I did a full review on this, and it was nice. Joanna emailed me, and I since starting BookTube, I've gotten people like, "Hey, I've written a book. You should read it." And I'm looking at the book like, in what universe did you think I would like this book? Looking at what I read and stuff. And, I've gotten a couple of those, but then I got Joanna's email, and she sent me the link to the Goodreads page, and I checked it out, and I'm like, huh, this person actually looked up reviewers that would be interested in her stuff. So she picked a Christian reviewer who loves fairy tale retellings. So it's like, wait, first of all, way to go, girl, for your research and looking into people to read your books. That is key. You don't want someone who's gonna not. I mean, they might not like your book, but they might actually pick it up and give it a shot.
Yeah.
Something they like. And I don't know what it is, but for some reason with indie print books, I'm always super leery with them. I don't know if I'm a cover snob or something. And
you know what? I'm with you on that, and I wrote a indie book, and it's extremely touch and go. Especially I received one a little while ago. I had to put it down. It just the pacing was really hard for me, and even the layout and some of the issues with the grammar and stuff like that. It happens with indie publishing because they get ripped off from editors, and they also have a lot of trouble, and they're just new. So I totally get that. And with this book, it does say Almond Tree Publication on the back, even though.
Oh, see, I didn't even have that. I have no publications on mine.
Oh, yeah, it says
sent me.
Almond Tree Publications. So I don't know if she switched to a publication company. It'd be nice if she was on here so we could ask. But
I think she's currently in Egypt right now.
Yeah, I heard she's all over the world. So cool.
Yeah. So, yeah. So I was I don't know, leery, but I ended up really enjoying this and just really appreciating for what it was, and just being really impressed with the maturity of it. And I looked at her author picture, and I took her for a lot younger than she is, but she's actually my age. So.
Ooh.
Yeah, but the maturity of this and how it's written, and then I'm Christian fiction can get to the point where you're just let's throw in a verse here, let's put some biblical ideas here, let's put some Christian ethics and morals without like the backbone of it, or they change stuff around to make it work with the story rather than the story staying and adhering to biblical principles. But this one, like just even hearing where she came up with the idea, because I didn't think halfway through the book, because it was so strong on its biblical standings and its Christian faith elements, I didn't think he was actually going to turn into a physical beast. But well, she explained it actually using a passage from Daniel where one of the kings was turned into some sort of beast for the period of time.
Yeah,
So
I totally thought of that scripture actually when I was reading that.
I must have just like zoned out in Bible class when I was reading that part because I forgot about that until she brought it out.
Fantastical.
Yeah, so she brought it out, and I'm like, oh, well, like we have those elements in the Bible, those supernatural, fantastical elements, and you know, she used a lot of inspiration from that. And then and then you look back on the book, but overall, like, such like good writing, good storytelling. It took me a while to really endear myself to her characters, though, which we'll talk about more with characters. But like overall, for Beauty and the Beast retelling, she had a lot of the original elements. She had good writing. Her biblical stuff was just like on point. Like
Yeah,
there's even
really good.
There's points where I'm putting the book down and saying, "Amen. Thank you for putting this in writing." Like it was just so good.
Yeah, I
So,
agree.
yeah.
Like, I agree totally 100%. I think it's really cool. Like, okay, for overall, there was some issues with Brandon and his before Christ character.
Yeah.
But it reflected the beast that was inside of him. And so it was so good, and yet it really was like there was one scene around like, yeah, it was around 134 pages, and it was a bit too much for me, but it was kind of necessary to see how his heart had already started to become so black, and how he basically was, you know, even though he thought he was a good kid and he was trying to be perfect and stuff like that, he turned like into a beast. Now, I do want to say, like, even though I love this book, there was like the first part of it, it almost seemed like there was two different kinds of books in a sense in the beginning. Yeah. Did you feel that too?
Yeah, and like that's something I talked to Joanna about. Like it felt like, I liked that they didn't meet right away, but it almost felt like two stories, two books. And then a lot of the side characters had so much of a story of their own lives that it took away from the main story, because you folk like she's fantastic in telling people's stories of their lives, but she put too much of that all into one book. I mean, and she was really great when I get like my kind of like my review policy is I'll always send the author my review first before I publicly post it. So we talked about it first, and she was really good. She goes, yeah, that's a lot of criticism I got with too much, and then not really endearing the characters to people and writing too much of the side characters.
Yeah,
and
you know what? I really love the side characters, and I think the side characters were really good. I just think they could have been developed a little bit more, like what you're saying. But I think the first part of the book almost felt like I don't know, it just didn't fit, or like it did fit. It did fit. It just didn't seem. It almost went into like this fantastic. It's almost like when she started writing the story, she had this very like, because your beauty character wasn't the typical beauty character we dealt with, like things that are in real life, modern day problems that affect teens, like cutting and different things that are a part of these characters, and they're broken, beautiful, which she started out with this kind of idea. And then you could feel the story kind of go more towards the Beauty and the Beast retelling instead of the contemporary sort of setting that she had started with. It was really interesting because it did kind of shift to more fantastical idea, which I related to Daniel with, and I related to certain things with, but I could feel like there was this, yeah, I totally agree with you. The characters could have been developed a little bit more to kind of tie in the story a little bit better, and then also the two story ideas kind of not totally flowing, and where she got the idea. She could have almost even started the book halfway through and then developed those characters more. But for a first-time author, independent, I was floored by how well it was written.
Right?
I was really impressed by her ability to make a modern day Beauty and the Beast retelling, because it really was successful in that.
Yeah, I think the story lacked a cohesion. Like, it just wasn't cohesive enough in some of its elements. And I think, like, when you're an author and you want to get certain things across, like, she wanted to get across Callista's salvation in that story, but those stories can sometimes drag on too long. But you still want to make sure that she wanted Callista to be established in her faith, which takes a lot longer than a year or so to to be
4 years. Oh no,
yeah,
her faith wasn't like a year, but it was like 4 years altogether.
Yeah, and to establish her faith, and then to get into that discipleship of discipling this new believer, and she had those people around her to do that. So, and I liked seeing that too, because I don't like just seeing, I think it was in Can't Help Falling where she converted, but then there was nobody to help her grow in that and kind of disciple that new growth. And I liked that in this book, that there was people around Callista to do that. But because that took so long, it dragged the story on, and then it didn't flow as nice into the second part. And the second half of this book was a lot more engaging for me. Like, I was focused, I was driven, I wanted to know what these characters were going through. The first part was it dragged until I finally got there, and then I was like, okay, here we go, now something's starting. It kind of felt.
Yeah, I agree. Overall, it was okay, and to me, it didn't so much drag, but it just felt okay, where is this story going? Are we following along with a Beauty and the Beast retelling, or are we where is this kind of going, in a sense of because you're expecting some sort of elements of Beauty and the Beast. When you first start the book out, you've got someone who's being perfect, that's the Beast, but he's not really a beast yet. And you've got someone who's imperfect, Callista, who's supposed to be beautiful. And so it's really interesting how, what I love is the messages that are in this book.
Yes.
Because beauty from ashes. So instead of the idea of, she's just Belle and beautiful and everything is wonderful about her, it's taking these ashes and making them beautiful because God can, So that's kind of the spiritual aspect of it. But I really like that in this story.
Yeah, it was just if we're talking about the plot, which it sounds like we are.
Yeah.
Our little plan of how we we just talk. Our
little
outline.
Elements in the plot that change it, and that it seemed to maneuver the plot along, or at least I think had elements to that pulled the plot in certain directions, and one of them was the faith aspect. I think was a huge one. That kind of it helped me with the plot.
Yeah. Yeah. No. The overall plot of the book. I think you could kind of see how she kind of the growth of the writing and the plot development slowly strengthened through the book, and from start to finish, it just kind of it wasn't cohesive enough for me at the beginning, but then at the end it was just really, it's almost like something happened and clicked, and then the rest of the story, the plot line, was just really nicely done for me.
How do you find it wrapped up at the end?
I enjoy that ending. That ending and the way it was wrapped up was really sweet. And honestly, that part of the ending just had me saying thank you for doing that, what she did for Brendan's character, which I'm not going to spoil because it is one of my favorite parts of the book.
For what
So if
character? What character?
For Brendan at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, where, you know, there's that.
Yes, yeah.
When the curse is broken and everything, there's a moment that happens there that for anyone who hasn't read the book yet, when you go and read that, that was just, and I told Joanna, and Joanna said, yeah, like that's, everyone who's reviewed the book for her or read the book for her has said that that's their favorite part. And I really wish a lot more Christian fiction would put that in, because I think around the same time I was reading this, we were reading Can't Help Falling.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I had that frustration of Peter needing to leave her alone so God can call her to him. Yeah. And I just wanted Peter to stop kissing this woman. I forgot her name. But to stop kissing her, to stop leading her on, to stop telling her, well, you don't share my faith, so I can't be in love with you. But then in the next chapter, he's like kissing her. Yeah. And that just made me so angry. And then I, like, on the polar opposite of that, I had this book where, you know, someone stepped in and told this character, this is what needs to happen. This is what needs to be taken care of first. And that character agreed and said, yes, you're right. This is what's best. Yeah. And then you get this, I wouldn't say perfect ending, but it is kind of the ideal ending.
I really like the ending. Even down to some of the side characters, she pulled that together really well.
Yeah, exactly.
And I appreciated that a lot, you know, like that forgiveness aspect and a lot of different things that she pulled together in the end was just spot on. I really liked it.
Yeah. Yeah, her character, like, it took me a while to get into Callista's brain and into Callista's life. And then with Brendan too, I think I had more pull towards him. And for some reason, I think it's because I'm more drawn to seeing like the extreme conversions, almost like someone who started with a really rough life or with a really privileged life, or to go through all of that. But I guess Callista still had that too. What am I talking about? But I don't know, like it took me a while to, Callista seemed really whiny to me for a long part.
Was it at first?
Yeah, at first she was just really whiny, and even her decision to try to make her life better for herself, and that she was accepting her family situation and trying to be really happy about it, is still a little whiny for me. But she ended up, as she grew up and grew, her character grew on me as well.
Yeah, I think the character arcs are really good in this book, because you get them really at rock bottom points, or at least you see their character development, and then rock bottom to changing and becoming a better person through it.
Yeah.
Here's some really cool characters. Brendan's character, because you were talking about it, you know, was the one I leaned to as well, like a lot. And I kind of felt sorry for him. I felt sorry for Callista as well, because she really felt like the outcast, and she really had a burden of a lot of the family on her shoulders, you know?
Yeah.
And I really, really relate to that a lot, actually. And I can see where she kind of pulled it inside, and she had these scars. It's really interesting how I really appreciated how Joanna brought out some of those like social issues that are happening. Even today, I'm working with people who have this issue. It's a very prevalent, and you know, they're struggling, and they're Christians, and they're struggling with this. And so it is something I'm really happy to see in a book that someone can relate to. So,
and how it was portrayed.
What's that?
And how it was done.
Yeah, really, and how it actually tied the two characters together. Because part of, are we saying that there's, like, are we doing what's it called? Are we doing spoilers or no?
Oh, I think we should keep it spoiler free.
Okay. Yeah, so it is like, Hannah, there's normally more people watching. I just noticing the comments because I can see them. Yes.
Yeah, we're kind of hit and miss with our audiences. I think it depends on the book.
Yeah, it depends on the book, but we did have Jenna on, and Hannah, thank you for being here.
First time, welcome.
So exciting. But yeah, so now I forget what I was saying, but I'm really happy Hannah's here. Yeah, no, I think that like the characters did have really good arcs, and I think bringing the tie and the scars, it tied the two of them together at one point in the book, which I thought was beautifully done and kind of unique, and so I thought it was really, really cool.
Yeah, I think right before I read this book too, actually a lot of things just kind of lined up. Right before I read this book, one of the girls that used to be in my youth group, she had dealt with self-harm, and she wants self-harm to be explained in books or portrayed in books in a realistic way. Like, don't sugarcoat it, don't make it a plot device, don't make it a feel sorry for me plot.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure a lot of YA uses it for. I mean, I haven't read a lot of YA Christian or nonfiction that has it in there even. And so when Joanna, and I told Joanna this, I told her, like, you know, I have young girls who've done this and who've suffered through this, wanting it portrayed in a way and wanting to see those characters come to a realistic healing and to a realistic point where somebody takes them and says, hey, you're beautiful, you're valuable, please don't do this to yourself. Which Callista had in her life. So, and I loved how it was portrayed, I loved how it was put, and I'm glad that it was done in a way. And Joanna has also known people in her life who have done it as well, she mentioned, and you know, she wanted it portrayed real as well. So, you know, I
completely agree 100%. And yeah, that really does make a big difference when you have it portrayed so well. Like, because Joanna does such a good job to make beauty from ashes in this book that, you know, Belle is beautiful. And even though she struggled with that, and she actually even, you know, struggled with it a bit more, even after coming to Christ, she struggled, and it showed a real faith, a real walk with Jesus, you know, like trying to work out your faith and just really, you know, going through life and even having these hard things to deal with. But I think it portrayed her really well. It's the opposite of what you'd expect from Beauty and the Beast, but it's so perfect to a modern day retelling of it.
Yeah, because she made that that Belle character that was actually named Belle. See, that's what threw me off, is she had the sorceress or the angel or whoever who was actually named Belle was the one that I don't want to give too many spoilers, but you know,
LaBelle or something.
Yeah, she had this character, and I'm so confused at this point. I'm like, the heck is this character supposed to be? Is this no? But you know,
yeah, that was really interesting. It was kind of that's where I think the shift started to take place from the first part of the book and then going into that last bit.
Yeah, because that bit kind of came out of nowhere for me. It was just kind of boom, and I'm like, what? Okay, cool. Now we're rowing, and yeah, like I think that's where that book kind of it started to take off for me, and yeah, just how she implemented, like she didn't use magic. She tried to use biblical themes and ideas from the Bible, and she, you know, she's like, well, God has done similar things supernaturally. I think he would, you know, like this would be, you know, she made it realistic that this could happen. I mean, it doesn't happen nowadays.
Yeah.
That I'm aware of, but it could, and that's kind of like this. I don't know where I was going with this, but I just really like the way she didn't be able to write a story. She wrote a story with the Bible in it.
Yeah.
If that's the way to put it.
And like, it was really not like in the beginning it wasn't as heavy, but as the characters started to turn to Christ, and what I really liked was who she used in this book. I loved the side characters. Like, I loved them. And you see their transformation. A lot of them, like even Brendan's aunt, she was an interesting character.
That was unexpected.
Yeah, and she like had her own character arc. Like we were talking about earlier, these characters almost could have their own stories.
Yeah.
And yeah, really phenomenal. The one thing that kind of left me heartbroken and thinking about later, and I still think about it, is Cecile. And that's Brandon's mom. And that's such a hard case because that does happen to people that, and you don't get this reconciliation with a parent or a loved one that you have that you want so desperately, but you don't get it.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, you know, I get this beautiful part of the story. It ends beautifully, but you still know that that is not and has not been reconciled. So it's kind of interesting. It was really interesting. Like, it's real life. This book,
Yeah.
I think, was really cool how it was a lot like real life.
Yeah, and you know, the realisticness of it.
Are you reading it?
I have seen the live action Beauty and the Beast movie.
I have not.
I have. I mean, this isn't a review of the movie, but I have mixed feelings about it.
Do you? Okay, well, you know what's interesting is that it's even at my library. Like, already, it's already out for library, like, borrowing.
It's out.
I know, yeah, because, like,
it's already out.
That's so funny. It's so fast.
Yeah, I mean,
have you seen it, Hannah?
What?
I asked if Hannah had seen it.
She hasn't answered yet. You know, like with Beauty and the Beast, there's so many, like, Melanie Dickerson has now written 2 Beauty and the Beast retellings. And both of those, for Melanie Dickerson, hers has been more like taking a second look at a person and getting to know that person's character and seeing that they're more than what their outside portrays. Neither than like any of the men in those books were too physically scarred. I know actually both of them had some sort of physical.
Yeah, and
one was facially scarred.
Lord Ranulph, he was scarred.
Yeah, I think but like, you know, hers was like Joanna still had a very different take on it than the whole taking a second look at somebody.
Yeah, completely.
It was more of just finding, like you said, beauty from ashes, healing from pain, and seeing what is beautiful and who makes you beautiful and how you are made beautiful. And, you know, it's a different look to it, which I really enjoyed. But like, you know, with most Beauty and the Beast, this one turned into accepting. Yes, Hannah, there is a gay character in the movie. They made LeFou openly gay. Everybody was talking about how LeFou is the first openly gay Disney character, which he technically isn't.
He's not, though. I don't remember him being. I remember him being like LeFou, being like really kind of idolizing Gaston. Like I remember him being like, you know, if you saw Superman, you'd want to like do anything for him, be like, "Hi, Superman! Oh my goodness, you're here! Oh, you're so amazing!" kind of idea. But I wouldn't think of him
in the animated. Yes, that is how he was. In the live action, they actually made him like you could see parts that you know he like has feelings for Gaston in that way, and it's very strange. But I think, see, what this movie turned into was the world's idea of accepting people for who they are and accepting the outcasts. Belle was an outcast because she was a woman teaching kids, girls to read at a time where women were mostly illiterate. And LeFou was a character where it wasn't okay to be openly gay. And, you know, and then you see all these characters accepting each other for who they are. And I think at one point, LeFou has this conversation with Mrs. Potts where, like, LeFou starts to see the evilness in Gaston and his idolization of him and his almost abusive relationship he's in. He's starting to see it.
LeFou is?
Yeah, he starts to see it, and then he starts to regret that maybe
Sorry, I've got
isn't
to move around. Hold on.
that maybe this isn't the person I've built him up to be. So he starts having second guesses, and he has this little conversation with Mrs. Potts of all people, and says, you know, we're not in a good place right now. She's like, well, you're too good for him anyway, she says. And then in the end, LeFou kind of turns good and doesn't really go for Gaston anymore, but then they do introduce another character, and LeFou and him end up dancing together somewhat at like by accident at the end. So it is openly, it is not hidden or subtly. Nowadays, we're not going to find that anymore. It is going to be a lot more open nowadays in media. And, you know, my sister and I saw it in theater, and we were like, I mean, it's going to happen. Like, Disney still has that subtle, you know, be who you want to be. And that's what, like, Zootopia was all about. Anybody can be anything. You can do whatever you want to do. You need to accept people for who they all are, which, you know, a lot of that.
I think just knowing that, it actually makes me really appreciate what Joanna did more.
Yeah.
You know, because then you get a Christian perspective, a Christian retelling, and it makes me appreciate what Melanie Dickerson does. And that way we get to have these Beauty and the Beast retellings that are their sole purpose and their heart. The heartbeat of it is there's no agenda besides loving the Lord and having a great retelling, you know. So I think that that's what I really appreciate what we have with these authors that step out and attempt to recreate something so iconic, you know.
Yeah, and this wasn't a accepting people for who they are. This was a God doesn't leave us where we are. God wants to bring us so much better. God wants to bring us, like, God doesn't want to leave you in your sin, in your scars, in, you know, he doesn't want to leave you there. He wants to make you somebody amazing. And Brendan had to learn that the hard way.
Yeah.
Like, there is content in this book. And I told Joanna, like, even though she put content in this book, and she was very unsure of how she wanted to put content in this book because she still wanted it to be clean. And I find, like, even though some moments you said for you, Melanie, got a little too much compared to some of the other, like, even Christian adult books.
Yeah, no, it's still excellently done.
Yeah.
It just made my gut twist, and I was like, oh, you know.
Like, it wasn't so much that it bothered me and it gave me, you know, wrong thoughts or anything. It was more of like, boy, don't, like, you know, that's not, no, stop. And she did that in a way of maturity, of showing, like, this is a life of depravity that God doesn't want to leave you in.
Yes.
And then kind of showing Brendan what that life creates in somebody. Mm-hmm. And he showed that in, like, a physical manifestation of it. And then you see the healing that is brought by having somebody speaking truth into his life. She didn't want to leave Brendan the way he was. She didn't accept Brendan for who he was. Brendan was slowly changing, and she was slowly seeing the change in him. And it wasn't just her that was influencing him either. It was his aunt. It was the household staff. You know, there was great moments where she wasn't even around for Christmas. And that was one of my favorite parts of the book, because Brendan was slowly being accepted by people, but also people who wanted the best for him, who wanted him to find healing and love and acceptance and not have to strive to be perfect.
Yeah.
And I just went on a whole tangent, because this movie and the general idea of Beauty and the Beast, even in the animated edition, even in the Beastly movie with Selena Gomez, I think. No, Vanessa Hot. It was one of those Disney Channel girls chicks. It was.
I don't know very many. I don't watch it very often.
No, I think Mary Kate Olsen was the witch or whatever that cursed this really hot, popular guy with this really deformed, but it was almost really pretty deformity, but it was like really grotesque, but kind of pretty. I don't know. The movie actually made him look like this hot, tortured soul that had this like really cool face tattoo. You know, it was like Neil Patrick Harris was in it. And I told Joanna that this kind of, once we got into the fantastical elements, it kind of gave me the beastly feels. But even that movie turns into accepting each other for who they are, rather than wanting the best for somebody.
Yeah, and that is what was portrayed in this book. They made it so it was like, okay, this isn't healthy for you. Like, you need help, or you need to get, like, you know, I'm here to help you, and though it's going to hurt you, I'm here to help you.
Yeah, and like, you know, when we go back to this movie, there was so many of that. Like even with the side characters, there's 3 characters that are kind of like these 3 henchmen that are just side characters, and they go to attack the wardrobe. And you know, in the animated movie, there's that one guy that gets sucked into the wardrobe and comes out wearing a bunch of girls' clothes and screams and runs off.
I don't remember that. This is a long time ago that I watched that.
I have like these Disney movies memorized, man. Like,
oh, really?
I mean, up to a point, Disney has been my favorite thing. But I have to remember it is worldly. It's going to have a world view on things. And so when these 3 guys kind of attack the wardrobe, she throws a bunch of clothes at them, and the 2 run off. But the one kind of looks at himself, and he's like, I like this. And she's like, be free, be free. You know, don't hide who you are anymore. Enjoy who you are.
Oh, interesting.
And that's the guy that LeFou, they're dancing with women to begin with, and then they kind of spin and end up dancing with each other.
I did not watch this at all, so I don't know any of this.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, I owned it, so I liked it enough to own it, and I just have this, I have so many people in my life, family members and friends who are of this community that, you know, I still want to build relationships with. I still want to be respectful towards their, like, they know that I don't accept what it is, but I still want to be respectful towards people for this. And, you know, this is the first time I'm actually bringing up any conversation like this on the internet because of how terrifying it is to bring this stuff up. So I'm glad we're doing it a live show because you're with me.
Well, I mean, of course, we have family members that struggle with it. It's something that people struggle with, just like what is in this book. This is the exact same issue that we're dealing with in this book. Not so much on that spectrum, but on the same idea of, you know, someone who's bound and in this lifestyle that they that is actually you know, not good for them and is hurting them in some ways, and they don't find identity in them, even though they're supposed to. Like with Brandon, he's supposed to be this perfect person. This is what he's supposed to be. This is what's expected of him, because of the way he is and his heritage, and a lot to do with his mother and things like that. And it's kind of expected of him. Sorry, guys, the light is so bright on me right now. It's like burning me. My poor skin. I know, but that's okay. I can't block it. So anyway, so then, you know, he is put in this identity, which is not even him. And actually, he starts to think, okay, I have to be like this. You guys made me like this. Is what I have to be like. And, you know, even though he knows that this is what he's supposed to do in a sense, this is what he thinks he's supposed to do. This is the way he thinks he's supposed to act. And it's not what's good for him. And in the end, it actually is what starts turning him into a beast. And we see that through that, there's redemption, and that though there are scars there, that God can heal us and bring beauty from these ashes that we started from, and bring him into a new creation, basically, in Christ. Yeah. You know, it was really beautiful story of Christianity and just a real Christian faith, and coming from sin into life, you know, from death to life kind of idea. It was really beautiful.
And none of the characters, it wasn't done in a way that condemned any of the characters.
Yeah.
Like when Belle transformed, when this person transforms Brendan, it was like, this is your doing. You know, she gave him those 3 warnings of what will happen, and he was the one essentially then that turned himself. is what happened, because he did not listen to the warnings. You know, there's something tugging you saying, no, this is wrong. This is not what you need to be. And you ignore that and you go against that. And that's what Brendan was doing. And that's where that transformation went. And like nowadays, it's so hard to, you know, people always think you're condemning them or you're putting them down or,
Yeah.
you know, you're judging them. And sin is sin on any spectrum. It doesn't matter what side of it you do. I mean, if you look lustfully at somebody, you've committed adultery. If you think, I hate that person, you've committed murder. You know,
Yeah.
there's no spectrum. There's no, this guy is worse than me, that girl is worse than me. We're all sinners.
It's all the same, and it's all the same in the eyes of the Lord too. So I mean, like when you're dealing with sin in any kind of perspective, it's still just the way it is. It's just the same. It's a separation basically from God and and what He says is right and what's wrong. And so, you know, like this book here brings out these really amazing subjects of, you know, separated from God. And I think that's what I really like about this book is actually it gives a clear definition of you are separated from God. And if you are with God, you will act a certain way because God is living in you and you're changed, you're a new creation. You're going to act a certain way. You're going to do certain things that are different because He's living inside of you, and you know that that's the way you should be acting. And without it, you're going to act a certain way that's not pleasing to God, and you're not going to be fulfilled. You're not going to be happy with it, even though you think you may be, and even though people might expect certain things of you because that's what they expect from you, because that's what they see that you would become or do or whatever. Or maybe you failed them and they expect you to be like that. Whatever the case may be, God changes you when He's inside of you. He's living inside of you. And I think that totally is what I love about this book is that clear definition of, you know, a separation from God and the result of that to, in the end, the ashes becoming beauty.
Yeah. And
almost hold on. I'm just going to put something in the way of it. It's just burning me.
I'm like,
there
you go. You're going to have great burn marks.
Light. What's that?
You're going to have like these great like red marks. Just
I know, just like lines of whatever. I'm like literally sweating now because I'm in the light. But it's not bad being in the light. It's just really hot.
Yeah, and like Calista, like she didn't have as deprived as a life, as like extreme as a life of Brendan, but she was still living in, you know, in a sinful life because she felt that separation, that lack of love, that lack of acceptance. And what I liked is, again, having people in her life that discipled her, not just told her, you need to become a Christian, and then leave her to her own devices. What?
Yeah.
You know, like, which is, you know, sadly what happens sometimes. And our church.
What was the character that did that? What was her name? I really loved her. B. Oh man.
B. Like
actually, even her friend.
Yeah.
I liked. Those two characters were full of the Holy Ghost. They were just like on fire Christians.
There was so many good women in her life. There were so many good people that just accepted her and loved her. And, you know, and then Calista didn't give up on her sisters. Like, even though her sisters took lives that were, you know, the one sister actually goes off and ends up with a kid. You know, oh, is that a spoiler? Sorry. But, you know, like, their lives weren't perfect either. And then her father, but then Callista's, like, even in all that struggle, she had those people she could go to that could say, no, this is where your strength comes from. This is where you need to grow. You know, the influence around her. And you saw that struggle of being founded in her faith and her family seeing that change in her, seeing the confidence that came out, seeing the assurity that came out in somebody who didn't have that confidence, didn't have that assurity. And, you know, even later on with Brendan, and there's a transformation there because in Beauty and the Beast, there's that transformation at the end. that transformation was not at all what I thought it was going to be. And it was
Yeah.
very well done. And at the end, what is told to Brendan, and instead of fighting it and saying, no, but this is what you wanted me to do, God is saying, no, this is what I want you to do. You just think that, you know, just wait. Wait on me, and that will come.
Yeah.
But I need you to do this first.
Yeah, I think,
and that was so powerful at the end.
yeah, I agree. And I think I did like I think what I brought out of this book, probably the biggest like thought I brought out of this book is very real to life. Like even in her family situation, like we were talking about, and her dad and everything with her sisters and their decisions, and even the sisters' parents, and just their family dynamic is pretty normal, even if it's messed up. And some people might look at that and be like, oh, it's so messed up. But actually, to be really honest, that is very real life for a majority of people. That is just like, you know, that's their home, that's their life that they have to, and even sometimes worse and sometimes a little bit better. But it's very real to life, that book. And I really can't stress how much I appreciate that, you know, and still having that clear biblical message and that love of Christ woven in there. And even being a Christian, like I'm the only Christian necessarily in my family, like in my, you know, little nucleus family. And even though I've influenced my family, and my mom, she comes to church with us and stuff like that, you know, but I think in reality, you know, it's not always something that they're going to do like I do. And so it's just really interesting. I like how real and how that perspective was brought out. I just love this book, like for that reason.
Yeah, there's so much love for this.
I have to hide.
Like,
it's still following me.
How are you doing over there?
I'm blinded. See, you're like the first we started this video, and she's like, "Oh, look, you have so much light." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm dying in it, you know."
I have my like sun blackout curtains because it is 20. What is it? Is 20?
It's 23.
27 degrees, feels like 34 degrees, and I'm just like, nope. And my air conditioner's in the other room. Like we have one of those mini ones, so I can't even like sit with AC on. So I have like the one fan, no wind.
That's why I'm in here, is because the AC is right there. So I don't want to move. So I'm gonna burn here while I have the AC on. That's my theory, and I'm sticking to
work. Like, you know, for an indie published book, like I said, it's fantastic. But I really think Joanna would have benefited so much. And I know she mentioned the struggle with a agent and a editor and stuff like that. Like she had everything kind of set up, and then some things didn't work out for her, which is really sad actually, because I think Joanna would have benefited so much from an editor. Like, not that her editing was like is spot on still, but like to have somebody in a bigger book community, in the book business, to kind of, you know, let's keep the heart of this book, but let's, you know, streamline it, kind of thing. Not streamline it, but
even like now having maybe some novellas come from it and spin-offs or something.
That's a novella.
Oh, she does.
She has a Little Mermaid novella coming out. Her last time I checked her website, it was under construction. I forgot to leave it linked, but I'll leave her website linked down below so you guys can check it out. She has poetry on there. She is working on a 5-book series.
Wow.
Oh, Hannah, are you from Australia? Is that why it's winter? Oh, I forget that Australia is in winter right now.
Okay, I know this is going to make me sound like totally dumb. Hannah, is it like still like June there? Do you guys have like Christmas in like December, even though it's like summertime out there? Do you guys still celebrate it? Like, because your winter's now and it's summer here and it's still the month of June. Is it me, or is it June over there? Like, how does that work? Do you know, Angela? It just boggles my mind. It really boggles my mind.
It's really funny because like I was on my feed, and Katarina from Little Book Owl is an Australian booktuber I follow, and she
Yeah.
had her winter TBR up, and I was like, what? So I clicked on it, and she goes, yes, it says winter. I live in Australia. It's winter, so my winter is in June. So in fact, it is June, and they do celebrate Christmas at
New
Christmas time.
Zealand. Hannah's from New Zealand.
Ooh, Middle Earth. You're from Middle Earth.
That's so good.
I'm like, New
You
Zealand.
should have been on our live show when we did Can't Help Falling. Right?
Yeah, and Close to You. Because Close.
Yeah.
Well, no, we didn't do a live show for Close to You, but Can't Help Falling. We talked about New Zealand.
Yeah. We should do it. We should redo that book.
Yes, it's June, and Christmas is still the same date. Thank you, Hannah.
Wow, that's crazy. So I couldn't imagine like winter being in June.
I don't know
Wow.
if we get snow down there. I know it's colder.
Do you get snow?
I definitely don't think it's like our winter. Well, nobody
Well,
has.
your winter.
You don't even have a Canadian winter. I mean,
I don't. I was really lucky. Actually,
whatever.
This year I did get a Canadian winter. I had snow.
Oh, they do get
And-
snow. See?
Yes, we did. Hey, how was your storm? I heard you had a storm over there.
Yeah, so our city, my undisclosed location, had this really big windstorm, and I missed the entire thing.
Were you sleeping?
No, we were taking my mom to the city, to the airport, because she's going on holidays for 2 months.
Oh.
And my sister and brother-in-law get back into town, and we're like, oh, hey, there's no power on these
Oh my goodness.
stoplights or anything. And I had no internet. I had all my power. Nothing blew off my house. My recycle was just out in the yard. I just had to clean up my recycling. And
You don't get snow. Is that right, Hannah? You don't get snow?
you should come visit us in Canada. We'll show you lots of snow.
Yeah.
Just rain. I like rain. I will take rainy winter.
That's what we get. In on my side of Canada, we get rain, and in Angela's side, she gets snow.
There was 1 year we hit -50 without the wind chill. We were colder than Iqaluit, Nunavut, which is literally the North Pole.
That's literally the North Pole, yeah.
They were -14 that day, and we were -50. Oh, wait, did they celebrate Christmas in summer?
Oh, because it's December for them. Because right now it's winter, and then in December it's their summer. So they actually have to celebrate in the summertime?
But the date's the same.
Yeah, the date's the same. That's what she's saying. June is June. That's what I was really confused about. I'm like, okay, is it like...
Now I'm confused. I thought, we should just go visit New Zealand. Let's take the show on the road.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Or they can come visit us.
Anybody up for the Middle Earth?
Oh, yeah, the Middle Earth would be really cool to see. Actually, New Zealand would be amazing to see, actually. I just got to go on an airplane.
What's wrong with airplanes?
I don't like them. Okay, anyways, we're sidetracking.
We are really... Thanks, Hannah. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, it snowed once for Hannah.
Seriously, girl, I will send you some of my snow.
It might melt by the time it gets there, though.
Probably at summertime when I have it.
Yeah. Anyways.
You guys, they have like... Oh, no, Australia has like everything wants to kill you there.
Well, they've got the little kiwis. Is that right? They've the little like the New Zealand birdies or something.
They also have Hobbiton. And yes, I'm still hung up on Middle Earth.
Yes. You should really go, Angela. You'd really love it.
If I get to Hobbiton and I stop at Bag End, I will cry.
I know, we're very confused.
Thank you, Hannah.
We are very confused.
Anyway, we are totally off track.
Yes. Okay, but I do.
We might as well wrap up.
Okay.
Since we're gone.
Yeah. And you know what? It's like overall, I think for that book, like excellent. I think she did an amazing job. I definitely would reread this book, and I think I would even come out of it with even more. And I really can't wait for more work that she's doing.
Yeah, like I said, I'll leave her website down below. She was on Twitter or Facebook. She had like to choose between two titles. Well, it's more like the font on the titles. Oh yeah, they are called kiwis. Okay, anyway, back to
Kiwis! Oh, they're so cute. I have raccoons.
Oh,
I have a pet raccoon and pet squirrels.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
I don't have it in my house though. Canada, I don't have it in my house. I'll get in trouble. It's outside. Okay, focus. Next
Yeah,
book.
the novella, I think it's a novella. It looks very similar to this, so the covers match, but I think it's only on ebook. But she was choosing like the font so we could vote on the font or whatever, and it's a Little Mermaid retelling. I forgot totally what it's called, but like I said, I'll leave her link down below. She has a lot of poetry on her website as well, and I've read a couple of them. They're really good. Like her writing is pretty flawless.
Yeah, I really
Like
love
I
it.
still think there needs to be some cohesion, but like I said, it kind of started off slow and not connecting for me, but then it's almost like this her writing slowly matured and grew as she wrote, and I ended up just really liking the last end of the book because of that. And I like reading, like starting with Melanie Dickerson, starting with The Healer's Apprentice right off the bat. And if you read from an author's debut novel through to, you know, The Noble Servant, spoiler, through to The Noble Servant, then you see their growth and their development too. And that's what I saw in Joanna's book. So overall, I think I gave it a 5-star rating initially just because I was so excited with the biblical and Christian elements.
Yeah.
And like I said, I wish somebody like Thomas Nelson, Rebel, not even Rebel.
They should publish her. Like, honestly, I think she's worth publishing. I think she would sell well. And
But yeah, like if Thomas Nelson were to publish this, I think it would sit where Unblemished is sitting.
I completely agree with you.
Like, you know, I think it's up there with Unblemished. It's up there. You know, it's better than the Siren Song trilogy. Like,
I haven't read that one, but I agree with you.
But don't worry about that one. But like, she would be sitting on the shelf next to Melanie Dickerson and doing well in sales next to Melanie Dickerson. So Thomas Nelson, if you're watching, which I doubt, you should publish her book.
Or Zondervan, which is under the same house.
Yeah, Zondervan. I wouldn't recommend Blink.
What's that?
I wouldn't recommend Blink.
Well, yeah.
I think we have yet to find a book that we liked with Blink.
Well, I think we're still trying.
We're still trying, guys. But anyway, yeah, overall, I loved it. And I love talking with Joanna too. And Joanna, like as an author and a person, just getting to know her too on social media. And she's been emailing me back and forth. She's actually considered starting a chapter of our book club in the Philippines.
Oh, that'd be so cool.
I don't think I told you that, but yeah, she was like, can I take Coffee Chapters in Christian YA and start a chapter in the Philippines? And I said, dude, totally.
Yeah.
So, you know, she's such a charming, wonderful girl. She's so passionate for the Lord. She has this heart's cry for telling the people of Egypt about God and kind of redeeming that nation. You know, and I've been following her on Instagram and just seeing her journey through Egypt and
yeah, I heard she was like all over, even Israel or something.
Israel. She went to Egypt. She went to Israel, and she was at like,
so
you know, just
bringing all this like world travel, world knowledge into her books, and I love that kind of stuff with authors that can pull from where they've been and their experiences and weave them into their stories. So I hope that we see something like that in one of her new books. That'd be really cool.
And, you know, I like originally, I think she was living in China when she wrote this. I had no idea. Like, I thought she was in the States. Just because she pulled from our culture, she had, like, you know, I don't know if she had lived in the States at one point. I don't know her life story, but, like, you know, at one point she was living in the Philippines. So, like,
yeah, I thought she was living in the Philippines.
She's so hit on cultures and writing, you know, writing characters, writing real life.
Yeah.
Where, like, if she could write something with the Philippine culture base and, you know,
bring that into her books.
Bring that into it, like, you know, that, or China or Egyptian, You know, she could
You
totally
know what'd be really cool is like a China retelling of some of their stories.
aside from Mulan. I think we have enough Mulan.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
love
like
Mulan.
something that
Melanie Dickinson's writing a Mulan retelling.
I heard. I'm so excited.
Told us on our live show before it was official.
So what book are we reading next?
What will you two do after this? So what do we do after the live show, or what book are we reading next? Well, the book we're reading, currently our June book, is actually the Silent Songbird. Wrong. Is actually The Noble Servant by Melanie Dickinson.
Got it there?
So, I don't know if anyone's done with this. I know a lot of people already finished in the book club, and they were saying, some people were saying this was their least favorite Melanie Dickinson book, and some people were saying this was their favorite Melanie Dickinson book. So it's actually quite polarizing of what people thought about this.
Yeah,
I'm kind of in the middle. I loved it. I've done it. I read it in one sitting.
I know. I was thinking we should just do a double whammy.
Too much.
Two books in one. I know we'll have like 2 hours worth.
But yeah, so that's our next book. We don't have a date yet, just because when you work casual jobs, it's hard to schedule your life.
Yeah, both of us like work. You're working on call too, hey?
Yeah, but I'm doing the days, which is nice, but still.
Yes, and I'm all over the map. So
we will let you guys know in the Goodreads group and
yes.
on our social medias when our next live show is. It'll probably be more toward the end of July, and then we'll talk about this book. And I've already posted our July book in the group, so this is kind of just like summer book. Here are the books, read along, and then we'll talk about them at the end of the month, kind of deal.
Yes. And it's kind of cool, like, to get different perspective. I really am looking forward to talking about The Noble Servant and seeing what everybody thinks. Like, I've heard, like you said, like, polarizing sort of thoughts, and I can't wait to chat about it because I think it was a really good book. And so I kind of want to see where their thoughts are and how they feel about that book. And if anybody actually knows about the Goose story, because I did not know about the Goose Girl story and the Prince and the Pauper folk tale, which is Canadian, by the way. Yeah, it's totally Canadian. Anyways, I didn't know much about them going into the book. After I researched the book afterwards, it was actually quite spot on. So I was really impressed. So I can't wait to chat about it.
Yeah. I know very little of the Goose Girl. I just know that there's geese involved.
I am like going to burn here. I'm seriously.
Okay,
I keep moving this to like get better, like.
We should wrap up before Melanie burns into crisp.
I know, I'm gonna come closer.
What are we doing after the show? So honestly, Hannah, I'm probably sitting in the master bedroom with the air conditioner blasting while I binge watch television.
I am going to get out of the sun. I'm gonna go clean up after dinner because we quickly like ate, and I shoot everybody out of the house, and then
yeah, Melanie kicks all 5 of her kids. It's like out.
Yeah. Actually, one of my oldest son is gone. He's gone for a camp through his school. So we just have 4, which is easier. And so, but he's going to be back in a couple days. And then, but tonight I have to clean up after dinner. And then when they come home, it's wrapping up to get to bed. And usually I read to the kids and all that fun stuff. So yeah. It's
I'm single and I have no life. I stay at home.
Hey. Enjoy that time.
Melanie's like, bless you.
No, it's enjoyable. You can focus on the Lord. You don't have any distractions. Like I was sitting there trying to like just do one task, and I had like 5 moms come up at me, and it was like 2 of the kids. So it wasn't even like 5 kids saying mom. It was like mom, 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 and it was like only 2 of the kids. And then one of the other one like did something and I had to go help them, and then the other one ran off outside. I was like, I mean, you can't even pray. So enjoy that quiet time and be able to enjoy it.
Like Hannah, you have 8 kids, or there's 8 kids in your family?
Oh, I'm reading Deadly Devotions by Sandra Orchid. Woohoo! She's another Canadian author. Ah, and we have nearly 8 kids. Yeah, I think there's 8 kids in our family. So
Nearly, or
you know what I'm talking about. Does that mean there's number 9 coming?
it was like nearly. Like what happened to the other one? Is
Oh, you're the
she's the
oldest.
oldest.
So yeah, so young ones.
Nearly 8 kids. I'm
That's
sorry.
probably meaning like one's coming.
I'm trying not to. All right, it
Is
was
that
cute.
right? Is there another baby coming?
Man, you're the oldest. Man, you got a lot to deal with. I'm the middle. I'm that bratty middle child.
Yeah, I was the middle child growing up actually.
I was such a brat.
I kind of was like it was nice because like I would tag team with whoever yes in your family I would tag team with whoever I like needed to like if I was getting in trouble with this one I could go and hang out with this one like
I know.
you know
That one was mad at me. I go hang out over here.
yeah so I always had like a buddy and then they both tagged up on me then I was kind of bummed out.
She's only 13. There's another one coming. Okay. So there is another one coming.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's so crazy. Okay, yeah, we had 5 in 5 years, so it's a lot. Your mom is amazing, Hannah. I give her lots of claps.
I'm just floored. She's like, ooh. That's a
Yeah,
lot.
it's a lot of work, but it's so worth it. I'm like, hopefully, like we're looking at getting another bigger place and like lots more room. But I mean, if you have the space, then it's a lot nice. And sometimes it's harder if you're all stacked up on each other. Like, oh man, it's tough. It's really enjoyable to have your own space.
Anyway, so that's about it for us today. Thank you, Hannah. And I think that it says 4 viewers. I have only seen Hannah though, but thank you everybody who came by and watched. We will let you know when the Noble Servant is happening, when that live show is happening. And then Unraveling is the July book. So, and Sarah Ella has a pre-order event on right now. So you guys should go check out her social media. You can get colored maps of those worlds with her pre-order. You should go and do it, but only if you can afford to.
Yes.
But anyway.
Thanks everyone for joining us on this live show. And next time I'll pick a better spot so I'm not in the sun glaring at everybody.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.